Hello everyone, and welcome back to the first of 2 bonus episodes for the Color Spotlight series. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at one of my favorite colors, such a favorite in fact that I included it in my Da Vinci Trio set earlier this year, Perylene Green. PBk31 is so darkly valued that it is in fact labeled as a pigment black color. However, it immediately tints out to show a distinctively cool green hue in its tints. It is a very light-fast, semi-transparent, and moderately staining pigment. Formerly only offered by Winsor & Newton when it hit the market, it is now available from several other manufacturers like Daniel Smith, Da Vinci, and Schmincke. It is excellent for glazes and in mixes, creating dark, moody versions of just about any other color it is mixed with. The first sample that I have is from Daniel Smith, and it was the first version that I ever started using back during my very first professional palette was constructed. This and Schmincke's version, which was released as one of their new 2017 colors, are both very comparable to each other. They are the same hue and nearly the same intensity, with Schmincke's maybe just being a hair or a touch softer, as is true for many Schmincke colors. However, more recently I came across Da Vinci's version of this pigment, and wow, does this paint really pack a beautiful punch. It is deeper, darker, and more saturated than the other 2 versions, and is a lovely addition to my personal palette. As I mentioned at the top of this video, it is in my Da Vinci Trio. In fact, my whole trio was based around this color. I can't recommend it highly enough, and I am so excited to show you what it can do. So let's go ahead and check out these moody mixes that this paint can create. And as always, if you'd like to see a more complete tutorial of how I mix these types of varying swatches, I'll link a tutorial up in the card in the right-hand corner for you. I'll be using Daniel Smith's version of Perylene Green today since it is what I currently have on my main desk palette. First up, we have Hansa Yellow Deep PY65. This warm yellow mixes with the cool dark green to create a wide range of muted sap and olive greens. The deeper tones with more Perylene Green in them would be perfect for shadows in foliage, while the versions with more yellow remind me a lot of a deep olive oil type color. Next up, we have Carmine made from PR176. Now, this could easily be any version of a cool red like PV19 or PR122, but I already featured those combinations in those colors' respective Color Spotlight episodes, so I decided to go ahead and go with Carmine today. Mixed with a cool red, Perylene Green creates an instantly rich, deep black, regardless of which pigment number it is. Adding more of the red will lean you closer to either a moody red-violet, or in the case of PR122, it'd be closer to a deep purple. For the blue mixture, I chose Phthalo Blue, which, if I'm being entirely honest with you, would have been the blue in my trio if it had been available at the time I was selecting the colors. While I still love Perylene Green mixed with just about any blue, including the French ultramarine that is in the trio, the Phthalo Blue plays so nicely with the cool undertones of the green, making really vibrant, luscious teals. I did show off the cobalt teal mixture with this Perylene Green in the other spotlight for that color, so I decided to use a different light blue in today's video, which is Cerulean Blue. The combination creates really lovely seaside blue greens, and the granulation is especially lovely in the mixtures that are closer to the cerulean. Next is Permanent Brown PBr25, which is a very warm, transparent red-brown. These two somewhat neutralize each other to make a range of soft grays and really delicious looking dark chocolate browns when using more of the brown color. While I love granulation in most of my everyday earth tones, if you want a range of transparent browns, this combo creates a wide variety of hues from burnt sienna to burnt umber to raw umber-like colors. Finally, we have Quinacridone Burnt Orange PO48. This combination is really interesting in that it shares similarities with both that PBr25 that we just looked at and our earlier PY65 mixtures. Closer to the green range, the hue is still distinctively green, if not a bit muted, while moving closer to the burnt orange will create really interesting coolish brown colors. To finish off the page, we're going to be doing our usual pigment demonstrations, and for the first one, it's a dispersion test going wet into wet. We're immediately going to see a unique characteristic of this paint, and that is that this paint has an incredible affinity for creating blooms. You can even see it a bit in the large graded wash to the left of the page, but here we can definitely see the pushback of water into the pigmented area. I have come to really appreciate blooms like this over the years if you can kind of figure out how to harness them, but it's definitely something to keep in mind because not everyone loves this effect. Next we have the glaze, which is pretty straightforward. It glazes well, and it's followed by a lifting test. Perylene Green lifts moderately well on this cellulose paper, but I know from experience that it's harder to lift on cotton paper. The final test is my wet paint on dry paper and then softening off the edges, and here once again we can see that paint start to bloom. This would be much less pronounced on a cotton paper, but just do note that you're going to have to take extra care with your washes if you don't want that effect with this color. Today's demonstration is a sea serpent-like dragon, though I did make careful consideration to change the style of the horns from how I would usually create them into a more pronounced unicorn horn type design to fit the rest of the Color Spotlight series. The water in the background is mostly cobalt teal with just a touch of the Perylene Green to deepen it up just a tad. Next, the fins along the back of this serpent-like body were mixed from Perylene Green, cobalt teal, and lemon yellow to make them more of a sea foam green sort of color. All three colors in this mixture played an important role to balance that hue, and I think they work together really nicely. Finally, the body of the dragon is Perylene Green mixed with phthalo blue. I tried to keep this true to our Color Spotlight green color, but I wanted to add enough blue to make it read as more of a sea-like creature. I did try to somewhat harness those blooms I was mentioning earlier to help form the texture all over the body and continue to build up layers of color. As I mentioned at the start of this video, the paint really takes well to glazing, and some areas of this painting have up to 5 or even 6 layers of paint so that we can gently transition between the darkest darks and the lightest lights. feel like the layers on the fins built up especially well thanks in large part to the Perylene Green. As many of you know, cobalt teal isn't an especially strong glazer, so having this extra color that likes to play nicely in glazes I think really did this mixture a great benefit. I realized in the end that he did turn out to have a similar texture to my Vipercorn from the Cobalt Teal episode, but what can I say? I guess I just really love this texture a lot, and apparently I also love teal snake-like creatures. I'm sorry that my voice isn't quite back to normal, so I'm going to keep the audio a little shorter than I normally would have, but I wanted to thank you guys all so much for waiting patiently for this bonus episode, and I hope that it was worth the wait. There will be one more episode coming in a couple of weeks on Venetian Red, but I will see you next week for my annual gift guide collaboration with our OG YouTube group of Eve, Sade, and Caria. In the meantime, if you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a big thumbs up. Comment down below to let me know what you like to use your PBk31 for, and subscribe if you're new to the channel and would like to stick around to see more geeky watercolor content. Thank you as always to my amazing patrons for all they do to help support me, and I will see you in the next video. Until then, happy painting!